Have a very another good day to all. I am Soumya Nayak, Assistant Professor in Mechanical Department at Vedang Institute of Technology. As you all continuing the classes of transmission system. In transmission system, the first part, the clutch. Under the clutch, there are different type of clutch that I already discussed. You go through my previous video. There are different type of clutch that I already discussed. That is single plate clutch, multi plate clutch, centrifugal clutch, cone plate clutch. Now today we are going to explain about or discuss about hydraulic clutch. As there is two type of transmission system, manual transmission system and automatic transmission system. I already said about it. In automatic transmission system I already take the class, that is centrifugal clutch. The hydraulic clutch is under the manual transmission system. It is not the automatic transmission system. But what is the difference between the hydraulic clutch with previously discussed clutch? The main difference is the name suggested hydraulic. Hydraulic means it comes from a word hydro or hooder, either hydro or hooder. That means the fluid. That does not mean it is air or water. According to the application, according to the requirement, the fluid is different applied. Whereas in this clutch, the completely operated system, it controlled by a fluid which is not present in previously clutch. In previously clutch, everything was carried out by mechanically or automatically by means of centrifugal force or by means of the mechanical linkage. Here there is a mechanical linkage, but directly the mechanical linkage not come into the contact for the transmission of the torque. Therefore, as the hydraulic fluid is used over here, that's why it is known as hydraulic clutch. Hydraulic clutch is the device used in automobile, that is hydraulic fluid. It is otherwise known as clutch fluid, the fluid which is used just like similar like our disc brake. जैसे डिस्क ब्रेक में हम चलाते हैं बाइक में, ऊपर में एक छोटा सा डिवाइस होता है ऊपर में, वहाँ पे हम डिस्क फ्लूइड डालते हैं. डिस्क फ्लूइड मतलब डॉट वहाँ पे लिखा होता है, डॉट 3 डालो, डॉट 2 डालो. एक्चुअली डॉट 2 एप्लीकेबल नहीं है. डॉट 3, 4, 5, 5.1 are all are applicable in the vehicle according to the uses or by means of any company need. That fluid is used in the braking system, that is disc braking system. Similarly, where there is a hydraulic clutch, there are also a very small type of reservoir like the disc brake reservoir containing the fluid, and that fluid also dot fluid. The dot means Department of Transport. The Department of Transport decide which fluid will be used in which purposes in the vehicle, as per braking purpose or clutching purpose or transmission purpose, whatever may be, according to the requirement, the property, it is used according to the necessary need. So that will be decided by Department of Transport. So that is DOT, dot. Every fluid that is written, there is a dot. So dot 3, 4, 5, 5.1 type of fluid are there. Next is this hydraulic fluid, otherwise known as clutch fluid, because here it is used in the clutch. That's why commonly known as clutch fluid. To operate the clutch, the hydraulic clutch utilizes the fluid which is stored in the reservoir, a place of a cable to move the clutch plate. That means, as like similarly to the disc brake, the fluid is there in the reservoir. Similarly, where there is a hydraulic clutch, there is also a reservoir which the fluid gets stored about in it. Next, when the clutch pedal is depressed, now the function, how it function about. When the clutch pedal is depressed, a moving piston is master cylinder displaces a quantity of brake fluid into the slave cylinder. That means, here it is a complete diagram of a hydraulic clutch. There is a manual braking system, manual clutch pedal. In clutch pedal, what happens when you press is going for disengagement, when you release is going for engagement. Here is a reservoir. Similarly, as like the disc brake system, here is a reservoir where the fluid means not that much petrol, diesel, that is not about fluid. Fluid means particularly dot fluid that is used over here. Next is, in from reservoir there is a main cylinder. From reservoir it will come to the main cylinder. Manually, when the fluid will decreases or fluid will get lost, at that time we put the dot fluid over this reservoir part. Then this main cylinder over here, then there is a spring and a slip cylinder, otherwise known as servo cylinder. Slip cylinder, otherwise known as servo cylinder. Next, there is a clutch fork. Clutch fork means it is just a linkage which connected to means of pressure plate. Pressure plate connected to the flywheel, and throughout the bearing system, linkage system is there. The most working principle first is, when the clutch pedal is depressed, a moving piston in master cylinder displays a quantity of brake fluid into the slip cylinder. That means, first of all, when clutch is depressed, when there is an engaged condition, first of all I want to discuss about the disengagement part, then going for the engagement part, because this figure is completely engagement figure. The torque is just transmitted. So first I go for engagement. Disengagement I will discuss very easily, you can able to understand from this figure, then go for the engagement part. So what happened in this picture? The next is, the displaced fluid pushes the moving piston in the slip cylinder, which then act to the clutch fork, which in turn act on clutch release bearing to disengage the clutch. So what is the meaning of this paragraph or meaning of this working principle? Is that the working principle is, first of all, when you press the clutch pedal, okay, when you press the clutch pedal, we know that it is a disengagement. That means the torque is not get transmitted to the vehicle. At that time, the piston will be moved forward in the main cylinder. The reservoir part containing the fluid, that is a dot fluid. This dot fluid is come into the main cylinder. Then accordingly, when the piston is moved forward or pushes forward, at that time the fluid is moved forward or pushed forwarded by means of the pipe or the linkage arrangement. This fluid is just moved through the pipe to the slip cylinder or the servo cylinder. Slip cylinder having the spring over here to bring back to the original position. So when the fluid is pushed by means of main cylinder, by means of the main piston with the clutch, when they pressed by the vehicle driver, at that time amount of force in which fluid is moved is just pushed toward the slip cylinder. When the fluid is pushed to the slip cylinder piston or servo cylinder piston, at that time this clutch fork means just linkage, it is just a linkage to means to that of pressure plate. Okay, that means of pressure plate. What happened when there is push over here? When you push over this point by means of servo cylinder piston moves and it will push in this way, that means this linkage will be torn backward. Bottom point, there is a force to forward, on the upper point is moved backward. That means this clutch fork will be moved just backward. When this clutch fork move backward, at that time the pressure plate also move backward by means of linkage. So when the clutch fork move backward and the pressure plate move backward, that means what happened? It get disengaged from the flywheel. As we know from the engine, the amount of torque or amount of energy is transmitted to the clutch by means of flywheel. We only control the power flow or torque flow in the vehicle with the help of the clutch. Whenever required, we give the torque transmission. Whenever not required, we not give the torque transmission. So here it is a disengagement position. At that time, what happened? The torque is not transmitted to the engine. This is the driven shaft and this is the driving shaft connected to the engine, and this driven shaft is connected to the gearbox, propeller shaft and differential to that means of rear wheel. So this is the disengagement position of the clutch when you don't require any torque to get transmitted. At the same time, when the driver release the clutch pedal, when the driver just release the clutch pedal, at that time what happened? the main piston just move forward in the previously, the disengagement. When you release it, at that time what happen, the piston will move backward. When this piston will move backward, main piston, that means the reservoir fluid will be again to move to the reservoir. Some amount of fluid is moved to the reservoir, again it will decreases, then it will increases. Similar type like your syringe. Okay. Next, what happen when it's moved backward, at that time the fluid present over this servo cylinder also move backward, also move in the backward direction, because there is no forward push or forward force to just release the clutch pedal. That means you are going to engage the clutch plate with means of flywheel. So when you release it, the piston will move just backward, the fluid will move from the slave or servo cylinder to the backward, the backflow takes place, and to the reservoir the fluid will move up. What happened? This clutch fork, it will be in this position to the disengagement. But at that time when we release the clutch pedal, this piston will move backward. That means what happened? The force will be released out and it moves towards the flywheel into the original position. When it moved towards the flywheel, that it connected to the flywheel by means of pressure plate and the clutch plate. The clutch plate there between this pressure plate and flywheel, it is not indicated in the diagram. As you already know, there is a clutch plate is there in different type of clutch system. So here also there is a clutch plate are there between the pressure plate and the flywheel. Next, what happen? It will just engage to the flywheel. After we engage, the clutch fork get engaged in flywheel, the torque is transmitted from the flywheel to the rear axle to the gearbox and the clutch system. So this is a genuinely or a very simple working principle of a hydraulic clutch. So what happens when you just push the pedal, at that time the fluid gets pushed towards the slave cylinder by means of main cylinder, then it will give a force pressure to the clutch fork, it move backward, the disengagement takes place. After that, when you release the pedal, at that time the main cylinder go backward, the fluid flow in a backward direction. The spring is helped to give the proper position, the initial position to that slave cylinder or servo cylinder piston. It will just engage to the flywheel, the torque will transmit it to the rear axle. These are all working principle of the hydraulic clutch. Next, we are going to discuss about advantage of hydraulic clutch and disadvantage of hydraulic clutch. Advantages is first, hydraulic clutch offers smoother and consistent lever pull. As we are using over the liquid or the fluid, that means the friction will reduces with comparison with the single plate or multi-plate clutch or the different type of clutch that we discussed. In any clutches, there is no fluid as helpful for the transmission system in the clutch. So as we are using our fluid over here, the friction will be reduces with comparable to the previous clutch discussion. So that's why it is a smoother for the convenient way to use in the vehicle. Next is hydraulic clutch are considered to be very low friction clutch. I already discussed about it. As fluid is there, the friction is less. There is no surface contact is not much more high at that time. The low maintenance, yeah, as low maintenance means the maintenance is very less because the number of mechanical linkage, the number of mechanical system are not there. The longevity is more hydraulic clutch. Yes, the longevity will be more over here because in a mechanical what happens, friction will increases, overheating takes place, depend on the temperature, which I already get discussed in my previous classes. You go through it. That's why here it is not happened. No temperature requirement, no temperature dependency, no friction should be high, no overheating takes place. So in the longevity is more in the hydraulic clutches. That means what happened over here, hydraulic clutch will take much number of period of time to get damage or to make a maintenance over here, to bring a maintenance or to ask for maintenance for a driver or the customer or for the vehicle. At that time it take the more number of period to get maintained. So maintenance also is very easy over here. Next is, these are self-lubricating clutch. Self-lubricating means what happened in the genuine clutch system or a manual transmission system, there is no lubricating system is used in the clutch, for which during the certain period of time what happened, the clutch, the friction will increases. the friction plate, the clutch plate going to get changes, and because it wear and tear takes place, the friction will increases in day by means of using of the clutch. But here what's happened, as the fluid is used in the hydraulic clutch, that fluid is helpful for it as सेल्फ लुब्रिकेटिंग मीन्स इट, वो अपने आप को ही लुब्रिकेट करता है, उसके लिए कोई एक्स्ट्रा ऑयल या कोई एक्स्ट्रा अमाउंट ऑफ लुब्रिकेटिंग डाला नहीं जाता. ओके वो खुद ही खुद अपने आप को, वही हाइड्रोलिक फ्लूइड जो यूज किया जाता है, जो डॉट फ्लूइड, वो यूज भी होता है सिस्टम को फॉरवर्ड लेने के लिए, क्लच को एंगेज डिसएंगेज करने के लिए, और वही फ्लूइड खुद में खुद को लुब्रिकेट करता है और फ्रिक्शन को रिड्यूस कर देता है. जैसे दूसरे क्लच में क्या होता है, हमें लुब्रिकेशन के लिए एक्स्ट्रा अमाउंट ऑफ फ्लूइड वहां डालना पड़ता है. ड्यूरिंग द टाइम ऑफ फ्रिक्शन इट इंक्रीजेस एंड wear and tear condition. Next, the disadvantage is what? The major problem of a hydraulic clutch is leakage, as there is a fluid. For example, जैसे हमारे घर में सिलेंडर है, गैस सिलेंडर, कंप्रेस्ड गैस सिलेंडर, एलपीजी लिक्विफाइड पेट्रोलियम गैस जो हम यूज करते हैं, उसका एक सबसे बड़ा डिमेरिट ये है कि लीकेज. वो गैसेस, ओके, वो गैस है, वो लीकेज सिस्टम है. मतलब लीकेज सिस्टम क्या है? लीकेज सबसे बड़ा डिसएडवांटेज है. लीकेज अगर एक बार हो गया तो बहुत बड़ा एक्सीडेंट अकर कर सकता है, और होता भी है. तो इसीलिए यहाँ पे क्या होता है, आइदर कंप्लीट सिस्टम में फ्लूइड ही मेन कंपोनेंट है और फ्लूइड के द्वारा ही सब कुछ हो रहा है, इसी कारण लीकेज होने की चांसेस इसमें ज़्यादा होता है. तो कभी कभी क्या होता है ना, यहाँ पे लीकेज होता है, यही उसका डिसएडवांटेज है. और हाइड्रोलिक क्लच इज ए कॉम्प्लेक्स सिस्टम. कॉम्प्लेक्स सिस्टम का मतलब ये है कि वहाँ पे एक रिजर्वियर है, एक मेन सिलेंडर है, एक सर्वो सिलेंडर है, एक क्लच फॉर्क है, जो कि दूसरे सिस्टम में नहीं था. ये जो 3-4 चीज़ यहाँ पे यूज़ किया गया है सिर्फ फ्लूइड को फ्लो करने के लिए, फ्लूइड को मेंटेन करने के लिए हाइड्रोलिक क्लच में, वो इसके लिए कॉम्प्लेक्स हो जाता है. कॉम्प्लेक्स मतलब दूसरे क्लच के कंपैरिजन से थोड़ा ज़्यादा कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी होता है इन ए डिज़ाइन एंड इन टू इंक्लूडेड इन. Next is hydraulic clutches can be costly, obviously, because hydraulic clutch having 3 more amount of parts, that is main cylinder, servo cylinder, reservoir, and fluid flow pipe system, clutch fork, spring system. So this all will be extra amount of design is there. So therefore, the extra amount of cost will be there in this clutch compared with the other clutches. So that's why the cost is also higher over it. So what is the main purpose application of this hydraulic clutch? Hydraulic clutch generally used in the racing cars because it is very easy to manipulate, very easy to use, effort is very less, friction is very less, and there are different type of vehicles we can able to use in the hydraulic clutches, mainly in the racing bikes, mainly in luxurious bikes, luxurious cars, automobiles, not in bikes, also in also cars, automobiles, racing cars, racing automobiles, and other industrial application. In industrial application, the small motors, clutch system, वहाँ पे भी यूज़ किया जाता है हाइड्रोलिक क्लच सिस्टम. तो जहाँ पे बहुत ही इजीली क्लचेस सिस्टम मैनुअली यूज़ किया जाता है, फ्रिक्शन बहुत कम करके, इफर्ट बहुत कम लेके, वहाँ पे ये हाइड्रोलिक सिस्टम यूज़ किया जाता है. तो इट इज़ कम्प्लीटली डिटेल्स अबाउट हाइड्रोलिक क्लच सिस्टम and hydraulic working principle over it. In the next class we are going to study about the most I already discussed that the automatic transmission system, centrifugal clutch, but here there is a very interesting clutch, electromagnetic clutch. Here what's happened, it is a semi-automatic transmission clutch. It is a semi-automatic transmission clutch. So it is an interesting topic because it is not completely manual or it is not completely automatic. It is just between them, that is semi-automatic transmission system. Okay, in semi-automatic transmission system, it is otherwise known as semi-automatic transmission electromagnetic clutch. In the next class, we are going to study about this interesting type of clutches, electromagnetic clutch. This will be the last clutch of this transmission system first part with clutches system. The in clutch, various type of clutch I discussed. This is the last clutch system I am going to discuss in the next class. Up to it, stay tuned, stay happy. Thank you very much.